Hello everybody, today is a little chatty video and the topic of conversation is going to be 10 makeup trends that I'm most excited about. There are some weird makeup trends that I've spoken about in the years past and months past that I'm not a big fan of, but sometimes you just hit the stride in just the right place in terms of makeup trends that your makeup looks like it's trendy. And usually I personally don't follow trends in terms of clothes. I don't follow trends in terms of makeup. I have my own style. I have my own color palette. I don't really follow trends. In terms of makeup though, because I have a decent amount of colors to play with, I can basically achieve looks that I like. The older I get, the less I care what is in and what is out, and rather try to find my own makeup style that works for me. And I think I'm there, more or less. But sometimes you just see things crop up that are either, oh my God, why? Or, oh my God, I want to try that. That could be really fun. So let's get into it. Number one, cool tones in makeup are finally back in, which is something I'm super excited about because actually warm tones don't suit me. So I always wear neutral to cool, and on occasion I make a warm accent and I like it that way. That's what suits my neutral to cool tone skin. And most of the colorways that I wear, I barely ever wear warm toned colors. It just isn't what works best with my coloring, and it clashes a little bit. So, you know, for my personal style and for my personal coloring, warm tones often don't work out at all. So those like orangey red sunset eyes with the, like, you know, with the camel color blends, that's never be my jam. I've tried that look. It doesn't look great on me unless I'm wearing something mustard and I have a good layer of makeup on to basically neutralize my complexion to where it can work with warm colors, but that's a lot of work. If I'm wearing sheer makeup, which, believe it or not, I am right now wearing very sheer makeup, I'm distracting you from this with a bright lip, which is a very easy way to perk up your look. I have a very little makeup on my actual skin, and it looks a lot like skin. I just have a little bit of an illuminator sort of buffed in around my face. So cool tone makeup making a comeback, and both artists and makeup companies coming out with looks and palettes and products that work well with cooler skin tones. I mean, that's great for me. That is not going to work out for all of you out there who are very warm toned, because cool tones usually will look muddy on you. But again, if you neutralize your skin, if you really even everything out and sort of make your coloring as even as possible, then you can try that trend out too. Power to you. But you know, we all have things that look better on us than others, and cool tones suit me very well. Are you excited for cool tones? Leave it down below, because I was so sick of those oranges. They never look good. Orange is probably one of the colors that looks the worst on me. And the reason why I, for the longest time, avoided browns in clothing, because I thought brown was really a color that didn't work for me. Little did I know, I just need to go for cooler tone browns, and the same goes for most colors, really. If I lean them towards cooler tones, they're usually fine and work out just fine. Okay, let's get moving, because that really is getting a little derailed. Number two, long wear cream products, and I cannot stress enough about how excited I am that that is happening right now in makeup industry. People always had cream products available, but a lot of the time it was pretty limited in terms of limited editions or limited in colorway. So for a lot of people, it was just not feasible. For instance, back when I was using luxury makeup, the first and one of the only products that were cream for bronzing that you would think of was Soleil Teint de Chanel, which I've owned and panned. Here is proof of that. And I wore, and I enjoyed the product because I liked the cream texture, but it is orange. It will not work for a lot of people. It'll only hit just those few light to medium skin toned with a very warm undertone. That's basically what that bronzer is made for. That's the very narrow population that it's made for, and they've never made another color. There's only one color, so it was always very confusing to me. And although I enjoy creams a lot because I have dry skin, as you might know if you know my channel, creams work the best for me. They look the best, they wear the best, they never get cakey. I love wearing cream products. makeup brands, both high-end and drugstore, as well as my personal favorite and the segment of the market that I'm buying from nowadays, the green beauty. Green beauty had always done well with cream products. I wish I transitioned to green beauty before. All those formulas haven't been perfected enough for me to really want to look that way. It's only been in the last couple of years that I thought that the formulas within the green beauty segment were just as good, if not better, than in the luxury segment of the makeup market. And that's why I really shifted to green beauty, because they got pretty gosh darn good. So I wanted better ingredients. But even within the luxury realm of things right now, as well as within the drugstore realm of things, there are more cream products, and they're better formulations. They're formulations that will wear well even on combo to oily skin. Although if you have oily skin, then obviously your battle is combating the shine, not adding the skin-like texture or the satin finish. But for a large chunk of the population who are either dry combination or combination, cream products can work very, very well, and they tend to look better than powder products, especially on dry skin. For instance, for me, it takes a lot of moisturizing to be able to wear a powder or a powder blush that will then blend in seamlessly to the point where it is very, very natural looking. I don't like the look of powder on skin, so having more options for cream products that wear well, good formulas, that's a very exciting notion for me, and I'm very glad that that's happening right now, and then that's kind of a trend, and people wear cream makeup a lot more nowadays. Number 3, juicy lips. Why am I mentioning that? Juicy lips are fun, and when I say juicy, I mean either a creamy finish or a gloss. And glosses had been out for a long time. You know, the entire wave that swept everybody up into wearing matte lipsticks and liquid lipsticks was a little bit insane. And I think that matte lipstick is a look and it's beautiful, but it needs to be a particular texture that is wearable. And a lot of very long wearing lipsticks are liquid lipsticks that set to a crusty thing that peels off your lips with time, doesn't wear off gracefully. Still, there's a very limited amount of formulas that wear really well. An even smaller segment of that is stuff that doesn't dry out your lips and feels good on the lips. And I'm all about the feel. I don't really care if a product looks fabulous but feels terrible. I'm not going to use it. This is like a balance everybody has to strike. But there are a lot of things I ditched in my life that I used to use. Uncomfortable lip colors is one of them. Definitely heels. I never wear heels anymore because I'm over it and I don't want to be uncomfortable ever. And pants without any stretch to them, I don't wear those anymore either. They either need to be a bit stretchy in terms of material, have a bit of an elastane to them, or they need to have a waistband that has at least a portion of it elasticized, because honestly, I want to be comfortable. I'm working all day. I mean business, and I do not need to be restricted. My circulation does not need to be cut off. Like, my clothing needs to serve me. I'm not there to serve it. So, you know, I cut out a lot of uncomfortable things from my life, and that made my life better, not worse. And definitely drying or uncomfortable makeup products, especially lip products, are most certainly not going to be present in my stash. Those are the first goners, no matter how fabulous they might look. So matte lips are good if you find the right product. I prefer the blotted look rather than the full-on matte look. I really like the blotted off texture, the stained lip sort of look. And you don't really need a matte lipstick to do that. You can just use your normal, comfortable, creamy lipstick and either rub it in with your finger and you'll get a sort of matte, stained look, or you can blot it off with a tissue and you'll get the same look, just a little bit more intense and pigment, because you're just leaving more pigment behind. So juicy lips are fun. And, you know, in 2000s, lip glosses were all the rage. And then in 2010s, they made a bit of a comeback. And then we had a few years where lip glosses were kind of not in. Now finally lip glosses are back in, and you know, brands have been coming up with really cool textures, like lip oils came out a few years ago. and then kind of faded when the matte wave hit, and now lip oils are back, and they feel good. A lot of them are drying, but a lot of them are also very nourishing. Different textures. You can get something really sticky that stays around, so you get the benefit of wearing your gloss for a long time if you're not grossed out by that sticky texture. I don't mind a bit of stick. I actually think it's a good thing, and it's more moisturizing often. I've noticed that stickier lipsticks are a little bit more nourishing. Lip balms, tinted lip balms. There's such a variety of lip products right now on the market that are going to make your lips look nice and juicy and beautiful and healthy. And that's what I want. Regardless of the color, that's what I want my lip texture to look like. So I've been excited that more glosses are coming out, and they're sort of really flooding the market right now. Number 4, natural fluffy brows. That's been going on for about for months to maybe a year. We had this horrible trend of a very precisely carved out Instagram brow with a fade that looks nothing like actual eyebrows. Actual eyebrows are made out of hair, and the idea of ombre brow is good, but a lot of people did a lot of Sharpie brows and they looked really harsh, and a lot of people did a lot of such pristine, fine work with their eyebrows that no longer looked like an actual eyebrow that might be present on a face of an actual person. I don't know, if your eyebrows start looking like somebody drew them in, I'm not a big fan of that look. Anyway, I'm very glad that that's over, and the fluffier, bushier, brushed up brows that really lift up the face are in. I have the brows that I have. I don't really follow eyebrow trends, mostly because, like, I have the brows that Mother Nature gave me, and I stopped messing with them, so I stopped even going for brow waxes. I'm kind of just keeping them as they are, and honestly, that really haven't made much of a difference in terms of how my face looks. Maybe it's a little less groomed that I used to do, but it's fine. And I wish they were bushier, but my eyebrows are not bushy. They're just like normal, pretty average eyebrows, and I'm happy with them. I wish they were bushier. I know that you can use a variety of products to make them bushier, but I just sort of fill in the sparse spots and leave them alone. But I really like that look of fluffy, brushed up, volumized brows that does not look like you've spent hours like drawing tiny little strokes through them. But I will say that on the market, there are products right now that really make it quite easy to achieve, or easier than it has ever been. And I think it started with the Gimme Brow some years ago when Benefit released that. And this is basically brow volumizing gels that you can just brush through your brows. And if you have half decent brows, that's kind of all you need to do with your eyebrows. So I've really been loving that trend, and the fact that right now it's just like full bushy brows without like crazy precise trimming, without fading, without like any other special effects. Just like give me a good healthy looking eyebrow that doesn't look like you have thyroid gland deficiency, and we're good, because that's what mine sort of look like a little bit up here. They're a little sparse. Let's move on. Next is glowy powders. Glowy powders had been picking up in terms of being released from a variety of brands. I have a few glowy powders they absolutely love, and I've been a fan of glowy powders forever. Usually they're called finishing powders, but if you have dry skin, you can actually use a glowy finishing powder with a very, very, very fine sheen to set your face if you enjoy the dewy look that a lot of us enjoy. I do. Like, you can, well, can't you tell? I mean, obviously for many years I was a fan of meteorites, and I thought that was my jam and I couldn't possibly do any better. And I love meteorites. I have a display behind me that you cannot see at this particular minute, but I have quite a collection. I plan to get some use out of them, and I'm definitely getting some use out of this particular little box. The idea is to either set your face with a finishing powder if you have drier skin type, or set your face and then add a finishing powder with a bit of very natural looking glow. And a lot of them now have those very cool, ingeniously crafted light diffusing microparticles that create a glow and a blur at the same time, which isn't something that was available years ago. But it's just a way that you can craft those particles to reflect light in all kinds of different direction, creating that blurred look. So there's some powders that do that very well, high-end powders. I haven't seen anything from drugstore that does quite that, but certainly I've tried a couple of glowy powders, glowing finishing powders, one from Bare Minerals and one from Well People, that I really, really enjoyed as well. And I'll make a separate videos about glowy powders, because I think that's a topic that somebody can benefit from if you are interested in sort of green, clean beauty offerings on that side of things. And I certainly have found at least 2, maybe even 3 that I find very, very, very pretty. So glowy powders are a big thumbs up for me, and I have been using them for years because I have dry skin, and obviously I'm interested in that sort of a healthier look. But I found some really, really great releases lately, including releases in the cleaner beauty segment of the market. We have number 6, natural looking highlighter. And when I say natural looking, I don't mean subtle necessarily, but what I mean is we're coming to a point where powders and creams are being refined, and especially it's easier to do with creams, and I prefer creams anyway. But today I have a glowy powder highlighter, and I just right here, so I'm going to show it to you. It's Dior Skin Nude Air Luminizer in the color 002. It looks like this. I also have kind of their equivalent from Chanel that I actually decided to declutter because I like this one so much better, and they do similar things, but the undertone of this one and its performance actually suits me much, much better than the Chanel one. But what I'm talking about here is highlights that look like they might be skin. And the benefit of using something like this is the fact that you're getting a little bit of skincare in it, you're getting a ton of smoothness, and it's reasonably moisturizing. And you can add something like the Cover FX color drops to it, just a touch, however much you want. You can dose it, and that creates a product that is, you know, light coverage, smoothing, mattifying slightly, makes your skin look pretty much flawless, but doesn't have a lot of coverage. Because, you know, the thinking is, for some reason, that people who have oily skin always want high coverage. That's just not the case. You know, yes, some people who have oilier skin might have more propensity to break out, and maybe they have to cover more, but that's not everybody. If you do have combo to oily skin, you might not be suffering from a ton of breakouts. You might want to do pinpoint concealing. You might need to dilute all of those foundations, and all the mattifying and smoothing properties are going to be diluted as well, because you're cutting it down with probably a non-mattifying product. So something like this, and I mean, there's a ton on the market. You don't have to go for this particular one. I like it because I have it and I'm going to use it. But something smoothing with no coverage that you can add coverage to is lovely. And products are pumped out left and right that are smoothing, a bit mattifying, light diffusing, and at the same time they're skincare infused and designed for all kinds of skin types. I really enjoy that. I'm happy that more skin types are being represented throughout all the segments of the market. I'm really hoping to find a green alternative to something like this when I get through this one, but so far I haven't seen anything suitable, so to say. Let's move on. Number 9, sheer blushes and bronzers. So there's a caveat that, of course, I can only speak from my own experience in terms of skin type and skin tone. I'm sure that what I'm saying is going to change if you have medium or darker skin tones, because you do need a lot of pigmentation because you want things to show up. But beauty lovers all over the world are made to believe a huge lie, which is all products that you own need to be exceptionally pigmented. That's true for maybe makeup artists or people who have specific kinds of jobs and work, you know, on camera, or people who work in theaters, or people who film YouTube videos, maybe, I don't know. But for everyday sort of average person, whatever skin tone you have, it might not be desirable to have very high coverage and high pigmentation products. Obviously, if you have skin that needs a little bit more coverage, then you want more pigmentation, that's okay. But why are we so obsessed about having very high pigment bronzers, very high pigment blushes, very high pigment shadows, where all we're doing for a lot of us, especially us with the lighter skin tones, is applying them and then buffing them out forever and then ending up with clown cheeks anyway. We don't need that. I like a sheer application of a very high quality, beautiful product that is going to blend out gorgeously. Very, very pigmented products, like I said, they have their place. They have their place either in the industry where you need very, very high pigment products, or they have their place perhaps for a segment of the population who requires higher pigmentation because their skin tone just requires it. Because they need a more pigmented product to actually show up on their skin tone. And there's a large chunk of the population that does not need high pigmentation all the time. I'm part of that large chunk of the population, and I don't know why there's such a huge obsession about having everything ultra pigmented. For instance, ultra pigmented shadows don't always blend out the best. Oftentimes, I don't even want an ultra pigmented shadow on my eyelid, not eyeball, because I actually prefer a sheer application look. And a product that is of medium pigmentation or light pigmentation can be much easier to sheer out. For instance, blushes. Physicians Formula has a line of blushes that have pretty weak pigmentation. And I've seen so many people online just take a dump on the formula, although to me the formula is beautiful. It's very easy to blend. It's creamy and buttery and beautiful, and from the butter range, right? But like for me, those are the blushes I reach for the most because they're not so pigmented that I'm nervous about application. They're not so pigmented the application takes extra time. They are lightly pigmented, so I can easily apply and layer them to my desired level of pigmentation and work with them. So sheerness is not always a bad thing, and I really encourage you to think about it. Like, I think very high pigmentation can look worse than medium to lightly pigmented products for some people. And for some people, that's what they require. But we don't all require the same thing depending on your skin type, depending on your skin tone. We all require different kinds of products. So for all of us to be obsessed with ultra high pigmentation is odd and unnecessary, and I find it counterproductive. We should really be more educated. With makeup, just as with everything else, we need to be aware that diversity is there and it's a good thing, and we don't all need the same thing. Let's move on. Number 10 is my absolute favorite point, and it is the rise of clean green beauty products. And I've really transitioned to using green products. Maybe 80% of my collection is consisting of green clean products, and I'm slowly getting through my conventional beauty products from when I used to own much more. I've decluttered it tremendously because I don't miss products that I've already replaced with cleaner alternatives, and I'm using up the things that I really love, and I'm happy with that setup. It's not for everybody, but clean green beauty had really picked up in terms of quality. There are very few very high-end, beautiful, clean green beauty alternatives, but there's a lot in the mid-market range. I think it's worthwhile investing into the movement towards cleaner, greener, more sustainable, less toxic, but at the same time effective skincare and makeup. And I feel like before I wasn't really able to make that transition because the quality of those green products was really not where I needed it to be, because I certainly owned a lot of luxury makeup and I wanted at least the same on par quality from green clean beauty. And now I feel like it's there. I feel like I can do really, really wonderful looks with clean products, and a lot of them had become absolute staples and I prefer over all other products in my conventional beauty drawers. And I really think that this is the time. Like right now, clean green beauty is really picking up the pace and they're doing great things, releasing fantastic things that you'll be happy to switch to. So I'm excited about this trend, and I think a lot of people are probably going to be excited with me. Give it another year, most conventional beauty brands are going to be moving towards that direction as well. I bet you. And that's it for today. So that was a pretty long video listing the 10 makeup trends that I'm most excited about. Let me know if there are any trends that you are very excited about within the beauty realm, and also what trends are you not excited about, because I'm pretty curious most of the time to see What are people thinking is ridiculous because there's always a few trends floating around that are just crazy looking. And, you know, the Sharpie brows being a good example of that. But that was a thing that used to be a thing, and thank God it's not a thing anymore. So let's discuss all of that down below. See you guys later. Have a wonderful day. Good luck. I wish you good mood and good vibes. See you later. Bye-bye.